Welcome to the Real Film Nerds Podcast.
Happy Hump Day Eve, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Real Film Nerds Podcast. See, I said that pretty fast, didn't I there, Mike?
Oh, dude, that was really fast.
Woo! I'm exhausted, and I still said it fast. That's awesome.
Why are you so tired?
Because I stay up late, working way too much, or doing things I shouldn't be doing.
Yeah? Well,
should be doing?
What are the things that
know.
you shouldn't be doing?
Watching TV or working on my computers.
Oh, okay. All right. We all know what that means.
No, I'm repairing my Plex server. Well, not repairing. I'm working on my Plex server. And then I'm building a laptop or rebuilding a laptop for a coworker. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh, nice, nice.
So, anyways, welcome everyone. I am Matt, your host. As you heard, there is Mysterious Mike Talent.
Hey, everybody.
Today we have our very first Marvel Cinematic Universe film of the year, Captain Marvel. Here's my little ditty. If you've seen the movie, you probably have heard this. I don't think they said it in any of the trailers. Maybe they have now. But this is a conversation that's going on between Carol Danvers, a.k.a. Captain Marvel, and Nick Fury, a.k.a. Sam Jackson. And Carol looks to Sam Jackson as he tosses her a hat with a SHIELD logo on it. Does announcing your identity with branded clothing help with the covert part of your job? And then, Nick Fury finishes out with, said the soldier who's wearing a rubber suit.
Hey, yeah. It's good that you explained the context. Otherwise, I was like, I don't know how he's going to explain this. But
I explained it. Yeah, the space soldier.
Ah.
All right, so Mike, I am boring. I just woke up 30 minutes ago because the time shift is kicking your ass, so I agreed to get up before I had to go and do work. So, Mike, what are you drinking this morning?
It's not morning over here on the East Coast, but I am drinking a brown ale from Bell's.
Dude, you bumped your mic again, didn't you? Or do you have lightning?
No, I might have bumped the mic.
Yeah, it sounded like thunder and lightning. Everything is frightening me.
Oh, okay. Galileo?
Yes, very good. I am boring. I just woke up, so I'm drinking coffee with coffee.
Oh, it's not Irish coffee with a little bit of kick? Help you get through?
No, man. I gotta work. I can't be smelling like booze more than usual.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, you probably haven't sweated it out yet.
Well, of course not. It's cold, and I just woke up, so I'm not gonna sweat it out yet, especially if I'm just now starting to drink it.
Okay. True. All right.
Okay, folks, we are going to do our best to not spoil Captain Marvel in this first part. It might be difficult. I might have to bark at Mike if he does, and Mike can bark at me if I do. But we're going to do our best not to. So it might be a short section before we get to the spoilers, I guess is a good way to put it. So, Mike, go ahead, do it. Give us the rundown for Captain Marvel.
All right. So Captain Marvel was directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck. It was also, the screenplay was by Anna Boden, Ryan Fleck, and Geneva Robertson Duarte. It's starring Brie Larson, Samuel L. Jackson, Ben Mendelsohn, Jude Law, Annette Bening, Clark Gregg, and Carolyn Danvers becomes one of the universe's most powerful heroes when Earth is caught in the middle of a galactic war between two alien races.
It's Carol Danvers.
Oh, yeah. Danvers.
I had to fix that, dude, because
Yeah.
our hardcore Marvel comic people will get angry.
Yeah. No, my bad. My bad.
Because there's actually, not to get too much into the history of Captain Marvel, I personally actually don't know a whole lot. I know a little bit, but Captain Marvel has been played by multiple people. Initially, Captain Marvel was a man.
Oh, interesting.
So, anywho, Mike, what did you think of our first foray into the MCU this year?
I really liked it. And without giving away too much, this movie takes place in the 90s, and that made it pleasant for me to watch.
I was personally actually a little disappointed.
Okay.
I thought the 90s stuff was kind of shown for about 10 minutes, and then they threw in some 90s songs here and there, and that was about it. I really was expecting a little bit more than what we got.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that's fine, man. Yeah, I like this movie. The humor in it was pretty good, but it didn't quite all seem as fluid and as funny as some of the other ones. But it was still pretty good. Some scenes were better than others, of course.
Well, it rolled fairly well, but not great. Like, it felt like Sam Jackson was not playing Nick Fury. It felt like Sam Jackson was just playing Sam Jackson in the 90s. He was very comedic. He was, Nick Fury, especially in the Avengers films and the later films, is a bit more of a badass. He's a bit more, I don't want to say grounded, but he's like more subdued. And in this, throughout most of it, he was pretty jokey and pretty relaxed and pretty laid back and didn't really come off as Nick Fury to me.
Well, I think it was supposed to show the difference of time and in the other Marvel movies, we see him much later in his career, and he's been changed throughout. His experiences have changed his way of looking at things.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's true, but it's just he oh gosh, what am I trying to say? He seems too lackadaisical, I guess you would say. He always seemed to be the guy with a plan, and in this, he really just seemed like he didn't really have much of a plan, and he didn't, I don't want to spoil specific things that bothered me about it, but it just, it felt more like Sam Jackson than Nick Fury to me.
Okay.
I'm not saying it was bad, it was nice having him different, but it just didn't, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fine, man. Yeah, I thought this movie was pretty fun. I watched this in a sold out theater, and to my surprise, no one was, being obnoxious or doing anything. It was actually pretty great.
Wow, that's weird. Well, I saw it the latest showing I possibly could on Thursday at 10 o'clock. It was not sold out. It was pretty good for a 10 o'clock showing on a Thursday in Prescott, Arizona, though. And again, Mike, I have lost all faith in people.
Oh, man, what happened? What happened in Prescott, Arizona? Which theater did you see it at?
I saw it at Picture Show again. I think I'm just going to have to stop going to Picture Show because I was discussing this with my friend the other day and fellow movie buff, Christine. And I came to the realization that the only time I've had really bad experiences here is when I go to Picture Show. When I go to Harkins, I really haven't had an issue.
So you think it's just the patrons that go to Picture Show that are just
I think it's
more
the lack
obnoxious?
of oversight. No, I think it's the lack of oversight from the staff at Picture Show.
Ah, okay.
Because literally, I don't want to encourage this, but you probably could walk right through the door, walk right into the movie theater at Picture Show, and they wouldn't even notice. They have no one checking stubs. They have no one going into the theaters. Nothing. They have 3 people that work behind the counter, and that's it. That's all I've ever seen there. Even when
that's pretty crazy.
Even when they're crazy busy, that's all I see. I'll see maybe 2, normal employees and one manager. That's all I've ever seen there. Granted, I don't go on the busiest times. I don't go on Saturday night or Friday night or whatever. But seriously, I think you could probably just walk right in. I've never tried it personally, but... So, this experience was not as bad as any in the past. It's probably the least bad. But there was a gentleman about 3 or 4 seats away from me that texted the entire time through the entire movie.
Well, maybe he felt compelled to relay the story to somebody in real time. Like, maybe he just needed to FaceTime the movie to somebody. You know how it is?
No, he wasn't doing that. He had it down in his cup holder, and he kept, every single time he'd put his phone in his cup holder and make a pop.
Oh, geez. That had to have been annoying.
It was a little annoying, yeah. But he sat there just texting, and I'm like, I know a fair amount of people. I'm not super young. I'm not super old. I'm in the middle. But I don't know too many people that I could text between the hours of 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. where they would respond, unless it was like my mom or something.
Well, maybe it was, I don't know. Who knows?
But he literally was having a conversation with someone until the end of the movie.
Maybe it was, Brie Larson. He's a personal friend, and he was just relaying how awesome she did in the movie.
Maybe. That would be cool. Then I'd be his friend.
Oh, okay. That's how it is. All right.
Oh, actually, not really. I was not a huge fan of Brie Larson's acting in this film. I'll just come out and say it. All the roles I've seen Brie Larson do, I've never been a huge fan of her acting. It's always just kind of flat and wooden and just not well executed. Like, she had moments in this. She had moments where she was on par. And then she had moments where she was just super stiff.
Yeah. Well, I thought she had some decent scenes in the movie where she was acting pretty good, and I liked Jude Law in this. I thought he was a good character as well.
Yeah, Jude Law always kills it. But I mean, don't get me wrong, she had her moments, but overall, I would say she was quite rigid. She was quite wooden. She was just, I didn't feel her performance except for at select times.
Okay. All right.
Where Jude Law comes off convincing the entire time. Well, not even Jude Law. I mean, Jude Law is an incredible actor. But this is not a huge, gigantic mainstream role. He was kind of more of a side character, but he still delivered. Sam Jackson, too. I mean, granted, he came off as Sam Jackson, but he still did a great job.
Yeah. I think I'm going to get this out of the way early, Matt. Do you get jealous about characters from a certain other franchise being in these movies? Like, we haven't really talked about it too much with Samuel L. Jackson, but what about Ben Mendelsohn?
Oh, Mendelsohn?
Yeah.
Well, what about his character?
Well, he was also in some of those movies that you usually like.
In the Wars?
Yeah, in the Wars.
He was only in one of the Wars, but yes, he did a good job in it. And I like Ben Mendelsohn. I think he probably had my favorite role out of all of them in this movie. He just did a fantastic job. He played the Kree leader, Talos. Not Kree.
No, not Kree.
Skrull.
No, Skrull.
He was the Skrull leader.
I was
Talos.
like, wait a second, that doesn't sound right.
This is why we don't record before I'm awake, Mike.
Okay, all right.
So, anyways, yeah, I noticed you're wide awake in comparison to our last podcast.
Well, sometimes I get sleepy. Just now we have a even bigger time gap. Now it's 3 hours.
Yeah, it's gonna be real bad. Anyways, yes, I have no problem with Ben Mendelsohn being in this movie. Why would I have an issue with that? It's great.
No, I just wanted to get out some of the Wars talk early, so we can focus on the real meat.
I wasn't going to talk about the Wars. I mean, Sam Jackson's in the Wars too.
I know. What is it, Mace Windu?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good, Michael.
Yeah. Purple lightsaber, man. Purple lightsaber.
Yeah. Yeah, he would not do it unless he got a purple lightsaber too.
It's hilarious.
But no, I liked Ben Mendelsohn as Talos. I thought he did a great job. I really, really, really liked him. I thought his acting was fantastic. I'm not going to ruin it. I'm just going to say it was fantastic. We can ruin it later.
Okay. Well, I like the use of some of the music in this movie. I thought it was very creative because there's at least 2 songs that went really well with a couple of the scenes there in the movie. And I'm not going to give away which ones, but anyway, I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, there was one that caught me off guard pretty hard. I was like, huh. Okay, that they just kind of threw that in there without much of an explanation. I know what they were doing, but it was a little too on the head.
Oh, too blunt? It was too blunt,
yes,
Matt?
It was very, very, very blunt, and it just was like, ugh.
Oh, okay.
So we'll talk about that here when we get into spoilers. So I would say we might as well do that since both of us are just sitting here saying, well, we'll talk about it when we get to spoilers. So let's just go ahead and get into our spoiler discussion. Mike, I can't ask you how does Captain Marvel relate to the Marvel Cinematic Universe because Captain Marvel is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So we're just going to warn everybody. If you don't want Captain Marvel spoiled, go ahead, fast forward it towards the end. We are now going to talk about spoilers up the ass. The whole thing. The whole shebang.
All right. Spoilers. Okay. Spoilers aplenty.
All right, so the first, foremost, best, incredible spoiler for me was the opening credit roll scene of the Marvel Cinematic Universe logo and how they changed it to Stanley. That was just incredible. I mean, people literally stood up in my theater and cheered.
Oh, yeah, everybody was clapping and like in my theater as well. It was quite a way to start the movie. I thought that was really nice.
I personally hope they do that for every single movie this year. I think that would just be awesome. There's only 2 more. There's Infinity War Endgame, and then there's the Spider-Man Far From Home. I hope they have that on both of them because that would just be really, really special to me.
Yeah, no, it was cool. It was cool to see that.
And then, Mike, you want to talk about his cameo in the movie?
Sure. Yep. So he's once again makes a cameo in the movies, and this isn't quite his last cameo. I think there's going to be a couple more before he passed away, but he's in this reciting. Oh shoot! Now I'm going to forget the lines. He's reciting a script, and you can see the script is Mallrats, and he's reading a part in it. And shoot. Matt, do you remember what it's called?
Come on, Mike, you even looked it up.
I did, but I didn't write it down, dude. I can't remember things.
Oh, it was his famous line from his column in the comic book about True Believers.
Yes.
It was, I don't know if it was Thank You, True Believers.
I think it was Trust Me, True Believers.
Trust Me. There you go. Trust Me, True Believers. I think he ended his column with "Thank you, true believers" or something along those lines. He was thanking his readers for buying his comic books.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool.
Interesting tidbit about that scene. I follow Kevin Smith on the Facebooks and the Instagrams.
Oh,
and Kevin Smith saw it on Friday, and he posted a picture of himself bawling his eyes out. Because
did he not know that was in there?
No, he was so honored that was in there because you know what that also means. On top of just, oh, look, it's a throwback to his first kind of major cameo in this modern era. It means that Kevin Smith and Kevin Smith's movies are now technically canon in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
So he just lost his shit. Being a super nerd like the rest, well, like me, not you, but being a super nerd, he just lost it because it means anything and everything he's ever done is technically canon in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, including himself.
Nice.
So he was just bawling his eyes out. He was so honored. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, So another spoiler in this movie, the opening, well, not quite the opening scene, but towards the beginning when, what do they call her before she's Veers? When Veers lands in the Blockbuster and she's looking around and she's looking at all the movies, I could almost name every single movie even though it was blurred out. I love that.
Nerd.
Yeah. I was like, wow, I think I know what all those movies are.
Well, that is one thing that I wasn't a huge fan of in this movie. The first, 30 minutes seemed just really all over the place and didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. The whole mind traveling, mind traveling, the trying to pull her memories out, and then
how the scroll technique of searching memories.
Yeah, and how the movie kept jumping to the, more of her origin story, and then it would jump to where it was, and then jumping to her origin, and then jumping, because, for such a big character, Captain Marvel is an enormously big, powerful mainstay in today's Marvel world in the comic books. She wasn't too big back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. She was, but not like today. She headed up one of the biggest events in recent years. It wasn't a great event, but they had Civil War II, and she was the leader on one side, and Tony Stark was the leader on the other. She is a major, major character today, and to not have like a full-on origin story like Captain America had and Iron Man had and stuff like that, I think is kind of doing her a disservice. But again, I don't hate this movie. I really liked this movie. I thought it was great. But I just wish there would have been more to it. It seems like they just kind of were like, well, we have to hurry up and get through this Captain Marvel movie because she's going to be a major, major factor in Infinity War Endgame. And so we need to explain to everyone that doesn't know who Captain Marvel is, who she is. And this is a way to do it really fast.
Okay. Yeah, it might have been a little disservice, but at the same time, maybe they're trying not to be like another origin story from another comic book character. And so they're trying not to continue to redo everything, so they're trying a different approach.
But
now, maybe this approach wasn't the best, but...
But the thing is, it's not an origin story that anybody knows. It's not like Spider-Man, where we've seen Spider-Man's origin story like 100 times over.
Yeah, but we like that one, We like that one.
Or Batman's. Or Batman's origin story. We've seen that a million frickin' times over. So, I understand what they're trying to do, but I whatever. It's fine. They're going to do what they're going to do. I just think such a big, integral character as Captain Marvel needed a bit more, but whatever. All right, Mike, so let's get to one of the biggest spoilers in the entire frickin' movie that I hinted at you a little bit about was Chewie, a.k.a. Goose the cat.
Oh, you mean the Flurkin?
The Flurkin, yeah.
Oh, the Flurkin's character was awesome. There's a lot of scene-stealing moments. Like the Flurkin just nails it. Like the when they first go into space. Oh, I loved it.
Yep, and they used 4 different cats to film Goose.
Really? Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
And do you know why they changed her name from Chewie to Goose for the movie?
I was assuming that it was to honor Top Gun.
It is to honor Top Gun, but why did they pull a Star Wars name off of a character that is clearly named for a Star Wars character, which is one of their properties, and go with a property that is not related to them at all?
I'm not sure. I really don't know the answer.
According to Disney and the directors and everything, they did not want to take away from the Star Wars universe that is going on right now, because when Chewie was originally introduced, I believe it was back in 2012, maybe farther than that. I don't remember exactly which time. The current run of the final trilogy, I guess, of the Skywalker saga was not in theaters and was not happening. And so they changed the name to Goose, one, to tie more to the airplane flying, Air Force tie-in that she has, even though Goose was in the Navy. He still was a pilot.
True. Yeah,
he still was a pilot, so it's fine.
He's an aviator.
And you would have seen someone, especially someone from the 90s, would have named their cat Goose after Top Gun because Top Gun was still a fairly big movie in the 90s, even though it came out in the 80s.
Yeah, it came out in 82, I believe.
But they basically changed it because they didn't want it conflicting with the new trilogy and stuff and all that, and they don't want to be referencing that. They want it to be its own thing, and so that was all.
Oh, okay.
But,
I mean, they're making another Top Gun right now, like a sequel, I think.
Yes, they are. But it's not related to Marvel or Disney.
Yeah, so like they kind of just promoted it.
Yeah, kind of. But so for those of you who are wondering that don't read the comic book, Chewie in the comic book is named after Chewbacca in Star Wars.
Nice. I figured everybody knew it, but you're right. Maybe they thought you were talking about that website where you can order dog food.
Chewy.com, yeah. The unofficial official sponsor of the Real Film Nerds podcast. Make sure and go there and get Alpo.
Nice. They don't sell Olroy?
Olroy. I think Olroy is a Walmart brand only.
I know, Matt. I know. That was a joke. That was a terrible joke.
Hey, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one telling terrible jokes that piss off our listeners.
Well,
all right, Mike,
somebody's got to do it.
So go ahead. What spoiler parts do you want to talk about? Since I've kind of thrown mine out there.
I think those were the major ones. Oh, I did want to mention the music a little bit. There's a couple songs that are played that are really fitting for the movie, or I thought they were, and there was like "Come As You Are" from Nirvana.
Yeah, that was good. That fit in really, really well. The one that I didn't like, and I'm sure it's the one that you did like, is the "No Doubt I'm Just a Girl." That just was so just.
Well, you didn't like that, man? I did like it.
No, it was like, are you kidding me? Come on.
Oh, you thought that was too blatant?
Well, it didn't make sense. It just started playing like, okay, they're even in that scene, that was what? They're in like a bar or something? I don't remember.
No, they're up in the spacecraft and she's about to fight him, or she is fighting him.
That's right.
She just beat the AI. So she had just finished the "Come As You Are"
But there was a jukebox in the corner, and she even throws someone into the jukebox. So if it would have been silent when she started fighting, and then she threw someone in the jukebox, then that kicked on, that would have been a much better roll-in.
Oh, okay.
But
so you
with
just
it
didn't
just
like
kind
how
of,
it was just
it
thrown
just kind
on
of
the
started,
screen.
and it was just
Okay.
like, yeah, I know. But if they would have been a little bit smarter with how they brought it in, it would have helped.
Oh, there is one more thing I want to talk about it, but I won't spoil it. During one of the post-credit scenes, I loved it so much. It was the last one. I love that scene so much.
Well,
as
it's 'cause
someone,
you're a cat owner.
yeah. And that's all I'm going to say.
I thought it was funny, but I'm not a cat owner. I could have probably left after the first one.
Yeah, you could have.
Well, anyways, Mike, how much do you know about the Flurkins? Because I can go into the Flurkins a little bit more. Just for people that don't know.
Yeah, I don't know that much, so why don't you enlighten us, Matt?
Okay, so the Flurkins are a race of people, not people, they're a race of aliens that do look like cats. They are not cats. They aren't some kind of creature that inhabits cats. And they are extremely, extremely powerful. They lay eggs, and they lay hundreds of eggs at a time. There's not many of them left in the galaxy, which is weird when you say they lay hundreds of eggs at a time. And then, as you saw in the film, they have the large tentacles that come out that also have mouths on them that devour people. Well, but they don't devour people or things. What they do is, Flurkins are also, portals or gateways to other galaxies. And so when something is eaten or swallowed by a Flurkin, it is actually teleported to one of those other galaxies.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
And so that's plays big into the comic books because as you saw, they didn't really show it much in the movie, but as you saw, they're in the Quinjet hitting outer space, and they're flying into outer space. I think they're going to the workshop, and then all of a sudden Goose shows up in the Quinjet, and nobody knows how the hell she got on the Quinjet.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things Goose can do, the Flurkins can do, is because they are basically portals, they can pretty much teleport themselves wherever they want in the blink of an eye. So she most likely teleported from the base into the Quinjet.
Yeah, I felt like there's a little bit more to Goose's character because that was previously, it hung around with the doctor,
Marvel, which was awesome.
Marvel. Yeah. So I feel like there's something more to this Flurkin, and I hope we find out a little bit more later.
Oh, yeah, dude. I really, if you were a comic book reader and you really loved Chewie, you really need to read Kelly Sue DeConnick's runs on Captain Marvel. Kelly Sue DeConnick, shout out, is basically the writer that created the Captain Marvel that you saw in the movie. She's the one that kind of came up with Chewie. She's the one that came up with those runs in the comic book. They're pretty much based on her comic book runs, which was Captain Marvel Volume 7, I think. Hold on. Let me pull it up. It was
to the internets.
Yeah, she did Captain Marvel. They have it in chronological order of all the work she's done. She's done a lot. She's a really good writer. But she did Captain Marvel Volume 7 from July 2012 to November 13. I believe even one of the volumes of her run on Captain Marvel is called Higher, Faster, Farther. That's the name of the story.
Okay.
And then she also did Volume 8, which was 2014 to 2015. She did a Avengers tie-in called The Enemy Within, where it's completely around Captain Marvel and everything with her and Goose. And then she did Volume 7. Volume 8 was 2014 to 2015. I'm not sure what she's writing now, but she is known for basically creating, or not creating, but turning Carol Danvers from Miss Marvel into Captain Marvel.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so I'm going to get really nerdy again just to explain some of this stuff. The first appearance of Carol Danvers was actually in Marvel Superheroes number 13 in March 1968. Back then, she was not Captain Marvel, as I alluded to earlier. She was actually Miss Marvel, and she had multiple different runs throughout the years, mostly as Miss Marvel. She even had a stint as her other form called Binary, and you actually see Binary in the film. Binary is where her eyes are glowing and she's like really badass and super powerful.
Oh, okay.
That's Binary, and that was actually introduced in the Uncanny X-Men in December 1982, number 164. And then from there, she has a dark side of her, and the dark side of her is Warbird. And I don't think we'll probably ever see or hear about that, because that kind of went along with the Dark Avengers thing. And, that was May of 98, and the 90s were not a good time for comic books. And then she was introduced as Captain Marvel, or took over the reign, I guess you would say, of Captain Marvel in July of 2012 in Avenging Spider-Man number 9. So it's interesting because when you think about it, the story that they presented to us and the movie they presented to us literally would have been maybe 2 or 3 years old, and they decided to make a movie about it. Like, nice. That's where their source material came from, which in comics is pretty crazy.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
And it's all, and Kelly Sue DeConnick, the writer who did it, she was at the premiere. They invited her and her whole family and everything. It was pretty impressive. It was really cool. So anyways, if anybody wants to nerd out, I highly recommend reading those runs. If you can, read those before you see the movie, but if you're listening to this, hopefully you've seen the movie, because we've spoiled the shit out of it big time.
Yeah, anyway, yeah, with that, Matt, do you want to go into our review, our ratings, or what do you want to do?
I don't know, man. I could talk about this freaking movie forever. Like, okay, here's one more shout out before we get into our ratings that I definitely want to talk about. And what's funny is I'm not even that big of a comic book nerd. I mean, I am, but I'm not. Like, I know of people that know a lot more than I do. And I'm probably butchering a lot of this, and they're probably going to call me out on it, but whatever. Annette Bening as the Supreme Intelligence / Marvel was incredible. Because Marvel, a.k.a. the original Captain Marvel, is a man. Has always been a man. Since they wrote it in the 60s. And to have Annette Bening be the original Marvel, I'm not sure if they were going to call her Captain Marvel or not, and then kind of passing the reins onto Carol Danvers I loved it. I loved it. I really, really liked that. I thought it was great.
Okay, cool.
Because I don't know how much you paid attention before this movie came up, but everybody kept saying, oh, Jude Law is Marvel. Jude Law is Marvel. And everybody's like, yeah, it's Jude Law because he's this big actor. And they totally just flipped it to Annette Bening. I thought that was just great.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was a ginger flop that I thought was fantastic.
Nice.
And then another thing that really impressed me about this movie that I did really, really like, since I keep talking and you want to do ratings, but I'm going to do it again, is, massive spoiler here, is how the Skrulls are not the bad guys.
Oh, yeah. They kind of flip it. Yeah, no, I thought that was well done. It was a neat way of executing it. It was cool.
I thought it was excellent storytelling, especially since they're gonna have to retcon that probably in the future at some point. Maybe, I don't know what they're gonna do, because the Skrulls and the Kree have been warring for thousands and thousands of years. And when the Skrulls were originally introduced in the comic books, they were bad people. They are. And there's a whole storyline that took place in, it's either the late 90s or early 2000s, called Secret Invasion in the comic book world, where the Skrulls, they're called like Super Skrulls or something. They can imitate the powers of the superheroes. And so then it throws every single one of our superheroes that we know into question from here on out.
Ooh, yeah, that sounds interesting.
So they're gonna have to retcon them being the good guys. Or maybe they'll just have like a faction of Skrulls that are like bad.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking they're gonna do.
And I would not be surprised if we see one of the heroes in Endgame, or maybe even Spider-Man Far From Home, come out as a Skrull. I mean, that would be huge.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So, anyways, enough hypothesizing. But all right, Mike. Since you saw this, the most recent, you saw it on Saturday, I saw it on Thursday. How many reels do you give Captain Marvel?
So I'm going to give Captain Marvel 4 out of 5 reels. I really enjoyed this movie, and I enjoyed the 90s callbacks, although I wish they would have had Netscape instead of Alta Vista for the web browser, but that's okay.
Well, but if you remember, my Netscape, I don't think Netscape had a search engine back then. They had a browser, but they didn't have a search engine. Alta Vista was a search engine.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's true. Alta Vista was a search engine.
Personally, I would have liked to have seen my old go-to when I was in middle school and high school, web crawler.
Yeah. What was there? What else was there? Like Hotwire? There's a few.
There was a lot. And none of them were really good. That's why Google took over the world.
And then this weird Google guy came out, and everything was over.
If you remember, Yahoo was the one that really started dominating everything.
Yeah, Yahoo did. Yeah, and then yeah. So anyway, I enjoyed this movie. I think you should see it. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was good. This is a good one. Now I think we're on 22 movies, 21 movies.
It's something like that. It's a lot.
Yeah, but they're still still good. Like, some are better than others, but I mean, they're not bad movies. Like, I don't know how they've done it for so long. It's pretty crazy.
If I had to say there was any of them that were bad, there's one or two that I can honestly think that were bad. But they weren't awful, like extremely awful. Like, I've seen them more than once, but I wouldn't recommend people seeing them more than once. I think we talked about that in our last pod, but Thor: The Dark World was just brutal, man.
Yeah, that probably is the worst one that I can think of off the top of my head real quick.
So, Mike, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe ranking food chains, would you say this is an average Marvel Cinematic movie, above average? Is this one of your favorites? You've already said it's not a bad one, so it's either average or higher. Where would you personally put it? Do you think it's up towards your top?
No, I think this is what I would call average. Like, it delivers. It's got some funny stuff. There's good action. You find out some more about some new characters, and it's always cool. And you see some tie-in to some of the Kree stuff prior to Avengers, and that was cool. Or Guardians, right? Yeah, Guardians or Avengers.
Well, and then also, for those of you who watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you know a lot about the Kree because the Kree have been all over that show.
Yeah, they're a meddlesome bunch.
But this film specifically is the very first introduction of the Skrulls. And do you know why it's the first introduction of the Skrulls, Mike?
No, I do not.
Because the Skrulls were technically a Fantastic Four villain, and so Fox has owned the rights to the Skrulls.
Really? And the recent acquisition of Fox to Disney has changed it?
It's either their acquisition or they paid to get them out from Fox, at least for this movie. But
wow.
Yeah, that's basically what it is they were considered a Fantastic Four villain.
Wow. Interesting. Okay.
So, what Marvel Cinematic movie is your favorite of all of them, Mike?
Man, that's a tough question, man. Because it's like, I really liked Winter Soldier.
Uh-huh.
The first Avengers was so fun.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Man. I think I'm going to go with the first Avengers.
Avengers is your favorite?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I know it's tough, man. I have a hard time. I was thinking about it before I even asked it what I would say. So, but anywho, all right. Well, I think Captain Marvel was a good movie. I agree with you. I do not feel it is one of the better Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. I do not think it is their worst by far. I would put it a little bit above average in the Marvel Cinematic Universe spectrum. I give it 3.5 reels out of 5.
Oh, man, I beat you. See?
Yeah.
I'm not a terrible person.
This one time.
Yeah, well, I mean, it only takes once, right, to not be a terrible person?
Yes. That's how it works.
Okay, that's what I thought.
But if in my Marvel Cinematic Universe world, I really, really love Captain America Winter Soldier. I really loved Infinity War and Thor Ragnarok and Guardians of the Galaxy, both of them. I think Guardians of the Galaxy might be my favorite, or maybe Winter Soldier, one of the two. I really love the Winter Soldier storyline. It's one of my favorite storylines ever. And they executed it so well.
Yeah. There's so many. There's quite a few. I mean, this is what, like the 21st or 22nd movie. So that they have a ton of movies. Like, wow. Like, starting in 2008, it's only been, 11 years.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, another one that I liked, but is probably one of the not so great films. Is Doctor Strange.
Oh no, I thought that one was like average. I wouldn't say it was great, but Benjamin, what is it? Cumberbatch, right?
Benedict Cumberbatch. Yeah,
Benedict, yeah, Cumberbatch. He's amazing, and that one's it's just a lot of time warping, and it's a lot of different kinds of stuff. It's like harder, I think, to get around. Like,
oh, another one that I'm not a super huge fan of. The storyline is great, especially in the comics, but the movie was kind of a rough execution, even though it introduced us to some really good characters. Was Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Oh, yeah, that one. After the first Avengers, I was expecting so much, and that one was okay.
Yeah,
I thought it was just okay.
I agree. I didn't think it was. It was not to the level of the original. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, well, all right, Mike. I think we've talked long enough. I think we've rambled probably way too much, or at least I have. Hopefully, you learned a little something about being a nerd in comic books and Captain Marvel, because she's a big deal, man. She's going to be a big freaking deal in Endgame for sure. And there's all kinds of theories out there on who of the actual Avengers are going to die, and not just, disappear, but be gone off the face of the Marvel Cinematic Universe because of people's contracts coming to an end and things. And Captain Marvel is probably going to step in as the leader of the next phase of Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. So we are probably going to see Brie Larson and Carol Danvers a lot.
Yeah, okay.
So it's good to get a little backstory on her for those of you who are interested in these movies like we do. So.
Yep. No, it was very informative.
Mike, what are we reviewing on Thursday?
Dude, I don't know. I did just recently watch the Fire Festival documentary on Netflix.
You watched the Netflix one?
Dude, it's crazy. This is crazy.
The Hulu one is better. I think you should watch both. But you got to understand, the one on Netflix was produced and done by the guys that helped make the Fire Festival as much of a fucking disaster as it was.
Wow, it's a crazy story, man.
Oh, yeah. But it's, in my opinion, it's worth watching both of them. So, but I thought we were going to do the man who killed Hitler and then Bigfoot.
I wasn't sure if we decided on that. Is that what we're doing?
Dude, that's why I gave you, access to certain things so you could watch it.
All right. Well, then I guess you better get watching.
Well, unless you want to do something else. I don't care, Mike. I don't care. I watched that, and it was not what I expected it to be.
All right. Great. Am I in for a treat, Matt?
Yeah.
All right.
Unless you want to, I mean, we could do the Fire Festivals, but, I honestly think we should do both of them, and I don't think you have Hulu, so.
All right. So, let's do the man who killed Hitler and then Bigfoot.
It's Sam Elliott, man, at his finest.
All right. We'll do that next week.
Or I'll go, well, it's not next week, it's Thursday.
Next week, Thursday, sorry.
Or I can go and rent Revenge. It's like $2, I think.
No, I'll watch the Sam Elliott movie.
Because, yeah, I know you said you really liked Revenge, and if it's really that good, I'll pay a couple bucks to watch it. It's fine.
Yeah, man, I think you would like it, but,
Anyways,
up to you.
Think about it, Mike. Think about it. We'll figure it out. We'll have something Thursday, hopefully.
Yes, we will. We will.
If not, this Captain Marvel podcast is long enough to count for 2.
Oh, it is.
So, all right, Mike. Well, on that note, go ahead, do your thing, get us out of here.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and I know this is a long one, but catch us on our next pod.
Thank you for listening to The Real Film Nerds. Now, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Real Film Nerds. Now, go out and catch a movie.